Jim Mora. How are you, Coach?
Rich, that's why they play the game.
That's why they play. You heard that narrative, though, I'm sure, right? About what was being said about your guys' chances to go in Arizona?
I don't really listen to a whole lot of it, but on Saturday morning, since we were the game day game, I actually turned it on and listened to some of it, and it was like the Arizona Wildcats show. And, oh, yeah, there's this other team coming into play, these UCLA guys, but they're all beat up. And so, yeah, I heard a little bit about it. You know what? That stuff doesn't matter to us. If you start letting that stuff affect you, if you start being motivated by what other people are saying, I think it's really easy to lose your way quickly. So we try to avoid that.
Do you use your post-game press conference as motivation to send messages? Because some of the things you were saying at the podium gave a message, at least to me, was that.
Well, I was sending you a message, but no one else.
Okay. Just me?
No, you know me, I'm pretty frank. I just kind of say what I'm thinking. I don't know where I got that from, but
well, I mean,
I'm pretty frank.
You said that the defensive performance made you sick to your stomach. Nothing impressed you because you like to stop the run, so I'll say nothing. You didn't score 7 out of 7 times in the first half. That's the way we try to look at things, so I'm wondering if any player heard you say that. That's a message.
I don't know if they watch that stuff, but I just felt that way. I've never given up 400 yards. We gave up 403 yards rushing total. They had a couple snaps over their head that took rushing yards away, but when they ran forward on us for 403 yards, I've never, in the history of my life, and you could probably combine my dad's football career in there, I don't think we've ever even come close to that. And so that bothered me. And I was impressed with our offense, but I was just trying to be honest. Our goal is to score every time we have the ball. So, I guess that honesty is sometimes my failing. Or I shouldn't say it like that. I mean, maybe just the emotional aspect of a post-game press conference is hard to understand, I think, for people. It's hard to come in and face questions 10 minutes after you walk off the field in a real emotional environment. And so sometimes I'm a little subdued. Sometimes I speak, a little too much. Sometimes I say a little too little. Sometimes I say the wrong things. And like I told you last week, the more I say, the closer we're getting to me saying something stupid. So.
Jim Mora joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. You are the highest-ranked Pac-12 team. Utah right behind you after they took care of business in Oregon in a way that few people have done over the last 10, 15, 20 years. Do you think that the balance of power in the Pac-12 has changed, Coach?
No, I think Utah's been good now for a few years. And if I was doing the rankings, which I do, because I'm a part of that coaches poll, I put Utah ahead of us based on the fact that they beat us last year, and they are a very, very, very good football team. I think that USC is a very, very good football team. I still think Arizona is a very good football team. Who knows what would have happened if Barney Solomon hadn't gotten injured the way he did. I think Arizona State's a very good football team. I think Oregon's a very good football team. Stanford, heck, and look what they're doing. I think the Pac-12 just going through is really good. And I think one of the things that might hurt us as a conference is that I saw someone refer to the Pac-12 as the Hunger Games. We're going to eat each other. We're going to kill each other off. And it's just so competitive. There's a lot of great teams in this conference. And look at what Cal's doing. No one's talking about Cal or Colorado. Those two teams have really come on. So, heck of a conference, Rich. Heck of a conference. I know it's not what's Michigan in the Big Ten or something.
Well, yeah, but everyone talks SEC too. Jim.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what everyone just assumes. Like, let's just put it this way. If you had just said what you said and we just changed the team names from Pac-12 to SEC team names, that would be what most everybody would be talking about.
Yeah,
for real.
But the national champion came out of the Big Ten. So
that's true.
There's just good football everywhere. Let's just put it that way. Who knows what conference is the best? I mean, the best conference is the team that wins the national championship at the end of the year. That's how I look at it.
So were you one of the wise people who ranked Michigan this past week, Coach?
I absolutely ranked Michigan, yeah. I got a chance to watch them play Saturday morning. They were playing BYU, who we played the week before, and it was on TV, and we didn't have a game until later that night, so I got a chance to watch them, and they were very, very impressive. Very impressive. Where can they bring the ball?
Yeah, it's just, you know, it looks different. Let's put it this way, and not just wins and losses. But I'm personally, as an alum, as you know, glad to see it. Jim Mora joining me here on the program. I want to talk to you about a couple of things that went down in the National Football League, and you tap your wealth of knowledge from the professional front as well, where Cam Newton said Ed Hockley told him, which Ed has denied, that he didn't get a roughing the passer penalty because, quote unquote, he's not old enough. And you read lips, it doesn't look like Hockley said that, but Cam said that he did. Have you ever heard a referee say that to a player, that basically you're not veteran enough to get the call, and admitting that he would give that call to a veteran?
I've heard a lot of stuff said, but I've never heard that one. You know, Cam heard what he heard, and Ed said what he said, and we'll never know the truth, so it doesn't really matter to me. To me, it's a non-issue. Who cares? I mean, you know, there's always a little banter back and forth with officials and players, and typically it's very good-natured. I mean, those guys are very respectful of the players, in my opinion, and at times they blow up. They've got an ego, too. So I don't think it's a big deal. I really don't care. I think it's a non-issue that's being made an issue. Who cares if he said it or he didn't say it? Who cares if Cam? Who cares? I mean, really, I don't care.
Okay.
I don't think anyone should care.
All right, Jim. Let's move on then.
Rich,
one of your former players, former quarterbacks. It's amazing how the football gods get a certain way, and then players get another shot to start again. Michael Vick is going to start for the Steelers in just 2 days from now.
Exciting.
How do you think that's going to work with Todd Haley configuring the offense on a short week? Clearly Vick's not going to run all of Ben's plays, and Ben would never run any Michael Vick plays. How do you think Haley's working that right now, Coach?
Well, I think Mike is more versatile than we think. I think the fact that, you know, he's been through the Philadelphia system, and he's, you know, the Jets and, you know, Atlanta and wherever else he's been. I mean, he understands concepts, and I think Haley will do a good job of playing to Mike's strengths. And he's certainly not Ben. I mean, he's not going to hang in the pocket as long as Ben does. Ben stays in there forever and kind of just stiff arms guys away from him and throws it down the field. Mike will take off and go. So it adds a new element to their game. I'm excited for him. I'm glad to see him get another shot. I mean, obviously, I hate to see Ben get hurt because I love him, but I'm excited for Mike. You know, Mike's changed now. A lot of people are still living back off of what he did with the Dogs, and it was terrible. And he's acknowledged it, and he's paid his price. And he's a different guy now, Rich. You know, I stay close to him, and he's humble, he's sincere. He's upstanding. He's a great father. He's a good husband. He's a different man, so I'm cheering for him.
You know, and before you got the job with UCLA, and you spent a year plus with the NFL Network doing some work with us, and I remember that sit-down interview you had with Michael Vick.
Yeah.
That was really moving, and the moment where he admitted that, what was that you asked him about the DVDs that you gave him to look? Could you recount that story, Coach?
Well, we were, you know, back in those days, things were still on DVDs. You know, everything wasn't digitized like it is now.
Right.
And, you know, we'd give him every week cut-ups of our opponents, you know, different situational tendencies that they had to study. And I think I asked if I put a, you know, $100 bill in those, would you ever have found it? He said, no, I used to just walk the phone in the back of my car, you know. And that surprised me a little bit. But he's different now. You know, Mike he always was able to rely on his natural ability and get away with things that other people weren't able to get away with. And I think that spilled over into his personal life as well. And he paid a very, very heavy price for the horrible things that he did. But I think everyone needs to remember he paid the price, you know, and it affected his life greatly, and it should have. But, you know, I just believe that he's a changed man. And I've had conversations with him, many conversations with him. I know him well, and I'm cheering for him. You know, I just am. I'm over it. I like him, you know. I like him a lot. He's a good person. And
it seems like this is sort of like Groundhog Day. Every week you come on, we talk about your friend Dan Quinn from Seattle.
I was hoping you'd ask me about that.
And I mean, he's 3-0 now, and it's the first team to start a season 3-0 in a season in which all three of those wins included them trailing in the fourth quarter. We had Matt Ryan on the show, Coach, and he said that Dan Quinn has always talked about finishing, whether it was finishing a practice or finishing a workout, and that is translating into the games. That's what Matt Ryan told us last week here on the program.
Dan. You know, Rich, that's Dan. That's how he is. If you ever work out with Dan, he's like that. We used to run the stairs together before games when we were in San Francisco together, and you know, he just pushed you at the end. You know, he'd never give in. He'd never give up. And he'd always do this thing at the end. He'd go up and he'd like do this little symbolic thing. It was like sweeping the corners. You know, I'm going to take care of every little detail, and I'm finished. Now I'm finished. And I think his mindset has really permeated that team. You know, there's a toughness to him, and I think there's also a calm confidence, not an arrogance, but just kind of a calm confidence that we're going to keep grinding, we're going to keep working, and we're going to get it done. And, you know, I watched a little of the game on Sunday. They were behind. You know, I got caught up in my work, and it didn't look good for them at the time. I thought, well, there's going to be another, at least they're going to be 2-1 after 3 games. And the scores came across. I saw that they'd won, was it 38-25 or something like that? Mm-hmm. And, I wasn't surprised. I honestly wasn't surprised. He's just going to do a great job there. And those players love him. They're going to play hard for him. And it's a great hire. Great hire.
What's your favorite soundbite from your dad? Because we were talking before you came on about you think you know, but you don't know, and you never will, is what he said at one point.
My favorite of all time absolutely was the coulda, woulda, shoulda. Because to me, that was the one that flipped the fortunes of the New Orleans Saints from a kind of a team that was a perennial loser to one that became a pretty darn dominant team. You know, and I don't remember this, but they lost to the 49ers. It was a close game. Morton missed a field goal just by inches. And he came into his press conference, and everyone was, wow, you could have won that if he would have hit that field goal, and we're close. And, he just, coulda, woulda, shoulda. We're over here saying coulda, woulda, shoulda. They're over there saying we did it. Close doesn't count. He went off. And they ripped off like 9 wins in a row after that, I think. And so that's always been my favorite soundbite of my dad's. And he's had some doozies now.
Yeah, he has had that. And I see within that DNA within you saying you didn't score 7 out of 7 times in the first half of a game. I see that DNA right there. That's it. Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
You can be happy, Rich, with wins and progress, but if you ever become satisfied, to me, that's a poison that we're trying to avoid around here. I'm trying to teach these guys that. They're young, they're impressionable, and they need someone that's going to stay on them all the time about the details and the little things and pushing for excellence in whatever they do. It's so different than the NFL because, I'm trying to give them life philosophies, not just football philosophies, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Say hi to your folks for me, okay?
I will, pal. Take care, okay?
You too. Best of luck against Arizona State. We'll talk next week. It's Jim Mora, coach of UCLA.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.